¿Qué tal, Brooklyn? It's almost Thanksgiving break, right? That's a good thing. Oh, I forgot to sign in. Let me sign in here real quick. Yes. Yes, indeed. I forgot to sign in this morning. It's a process. There we go. So what do you have planned other than, well, we talked about this yesterday, or yeah, was it yesterday or Monday? You have your family coming in. What do you guys usually do? Do you like play games after dinner or watch movies, chit chat? With my cousins, when we would get together, we always thought, oh, well, let's play cards or let's play game. And then when the day actually came and everybody got done eating, and it was like, oh, I don't know, I'm tired now, my belly's full. We never followed through. So the your company that's coming from out of town, are they about your age? Is there someone there your age that you can hang with? Oh, that's cool. That's nice. Yeah, very good, Brooklyn. I used to have that similar situation too when I was growing up. Enjoy it while you can. You have a favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving Day? Good morning, Joe. How are you? How was the field trip? Tell me about the field trip. What'd you learn? Mac and cheese. Yeah. Dressing. Yep, that's my favorite. Joe, what'd you learn? Brooklyn, did you not want to go to the that field trip that they had for, was it like college day? Is that what it was, Jamarian? And how much money they make, like based on what degree they get, you mean? Like if they go to college or what? I see. So what'd you learn? Anything stick out at you, jump out at you? Yeah, I get it, Brooklyn. What jumped out at you, Jojo? Welding, make a lot of money, don't they? Yes, I know. I have a friend that does underwater, or whose son, I should say, does underwater welding. Those people make tons and tons of money. But of course, it's the reason why they make all that money is because It's so dangerous, right? I wouldn't personally wouldn't have the guts to underwater anything, right? Good morning, Arshad. Is that what you're interested in, Jojo? Welding? Is that a possibility? All right. Hola, Arshad. How are you? Um, so we're gonna have a little different day today, I think, because obviously I don't want to start something new. Excuse me. Since you guys are gonna be off. Um, so it's really just about you guys finishing everything we need to finish today. Okay. And just a note, a saber, something to know, FYI, basically. Nuestro examen va a ser jueves el 11 diciembre. Okay, so we'll have, the semester ends. We have, or you guys, I should say, just to fill you in, I hope y'all are listening. You guys start having star testing, some, I don't know, seniors might be a little different, but star testing, benchmark testing, et cetera, all this kind of testing, right? Because it's December and it's the end of the semester. And so our sort of semester, it's not even I'm not even going to call it a semester test. Our little quiz that we're going to have to finish off the semester will be short and sweet, right? But we'll talk about it when we get closer to the day. But just know that it's going to be December 11th. Okay, FYI. And if things change, right? So it's not etched in stone. So don't sweat it. Okay, you guys. Hoy es jueves, el 20 noviembre, right? The 20th of November already. It's kind of cray. All right, who can tell me what is a night with a K? I'd prefer it if you guys would unmute, but you can always put it in the chat. What do you think is a night? Don't look it up. Don't do nothing. In your mind, when the word says, oh, it's a night on a horse, what comes to mind? Night with a K. A soldier, good answer. What else? Jamarian, you with me this morning? What's a knight? Knight. Can you think of a story, Arshad, that has like a knight in it? I'm thinking of the ogre. What's his name? And the donkey and what was the name of that cartoon movie? Y'all know what I'm talking about? The ogre, the green guy. Somebody help me. Shrek. Okay, think about Shrek a minute. Have y'all ever seen that movie? Yeah. So wasn't there a Lord Farquhar in that one? He was like the short guy. Yeah. Wasn't that him, the short guy, Lord Farquhar or something like that? You're not sure? Well, can you think of another movie that has like a soldier, I mean a knight in it, Knight, or a story? Like, Cinderella or somebody, right? Her knight in shining armor, or that wouldn't be Cinderella, it'd be Snow White, right? Her knight in shining armor. What is that all about when we have those fairy tale stories? Brooklyn, Jamarian, help me out. I'm sure that in your games, there's a knight, Knight. How do we know if somebody's a knight? By looking at them. What are they usually wearing? Armor. Absolutely. The knight in shining armor, right? Armor. Okay. And so what we're going to do today is, yes, he's a soldier, sort of, not the soldier like necessarily in an army, but he's a soldier who is has sworn an oath, right, you guys, to a certain like lord. You know what I mean by lord? Like a big, a powerful person, right, that owns land, et cetera, et cetera. So a knight swears allegiance or swears loyalty to this particular lord, or maybe even the king or queen or whoever, right? And so they fight to defend the interests of that particular lord or king or queen. Okay. And so there's a whole like ideology around what is a knight, which is why in fairy tales we have this idea of a knight in shining armor, like the guy that comes to save the day, and they're always supposed to be the good guy, right? It's called chivalry. Have you guys ever heard that word, chivalry? I'll put it in the chat so you can kind of see what it means. Chivalry. Have you all seen that word, or do you know what I'm talking about? Because knights are usually on a horse, isn't that right? Yeah, knights are on a horse. Isn't that right, you guys, generally speaking? Like Lord Farquhar and Shrek, or whatever y'all have in your games and stuff like that. I can't think of another movie, but whatever. So chivalry basically means a person on a horse. Okay. And so a knight, when they were to become a knight, one of the ways that they would become a knight was that they had to prove that they were good guys and that they would protect people who were at risk, right? So that's why it's always about like protecting women, you know. And so, because in the old days, women had no rights and no one to protect them or whatever. And the idea was, if you were chivalric, right? If you were, you would, you know, nowadays we use chivalry for like opening the door for someone, you know, helping somebody carry their bags, all of those things nowadays. That's what we mean, like by really going out of your way to help somebody. Okay. So a knight used to take this oath of like helping people and defending what was right, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Here's another question. When can you think of a time period when knights actually existed? Make a guess. Like just what pops into your head, right, you guys? When did knights actually exist? You know, what period in history? If you don't know, tell me so I don't wait for a response. I don't know if you guys are thinking, if you're typing or what. Okay. Anybody else? When did knights actually exist? Roughly. I'm not asking for an exact date. Arshad, do you know? Jojo? Arshad, Jamarian? Give me an I don't know if you don't know. Okay. So knights existed, you guys, in like the 8th century through to roughly the 11th century, right? So like the 1200s, 1300, early 1300s, like that, right? In Europe. Okay. So you had knights from the 8th century, which would be about the 900s, right? It's a long time ago, to about the 1200s. Okay. And so it was basically like during the Middle Ages. It's kind of like the period that we call the Middle Ages, roughly. Okay. And so there's a lot of stories about knights and their chivalry and all of the good deeds and all of the things that they've done, right? So you're going to see that in a lot of your games, right? You see folks in armor, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're going to talk about today, or what we're going to look at today, is we're going to talk about a Spanish story that's very famous. The author is very famous. And we're just going to look at it real quickly. We're going to do a quick reading, practice some Spanish, right? And then we'll try to finish up any work that we have to do. And I also have a little video for us about, you guys know Snoopy, right? I love Snoopy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. So behind us here, you guys can see, you see this man. He's actually a character. He never really existed. And his sidekick, okay, his squire. And the word squire essentially is somebody who makes the other guy's life easier. Okay, a helper, right? And the other guy, generally pays the squire. It's not like he does it out of the goodness of his heart, but ideally they become friends, et cetera, right? So neither one of these two guys actually ever existed, but yet there's a statue to them. This statue happens to be in Madrid, and that's how important the story that we're going to look at real quickly today, how important it is to Spanish culture, Spanish history, and that, okay? You will, in a lot of references, I mean, if you watch like the news or whatever, or writers, other Spanish writers, they refer to these characters often, okay, as a moral. So we're going to look at what is the moral of this particular story, okay? All right, so a couple of things to keep in mind. One is that knights existed in the Middle Ages from about the 8th to the 11th century. So until, like I say, about the 1300s. Okay. All right. So keep that in mind. I'm going to share a screen with you real quick. And this is just essentially for some background information, so we know what we're looking at. Okay. So all right, so we're going to look at this story called Don Quixote de la Mancha. And maybe you've heard of it. In English, we pronounce it Don Quixote, all right? But it's Don Quixote de la Mancha. That's the name of the story. And that is essentially the character that you see in the statue, right? Don Quixote. Now, in the story, the guy's real name is Alonso Quijano, okay? And he sort of renames himself this Don Quixote de la Mancha, okay? And the word don in Spanish, D-O-N, in this context means like Lord, like you're an extra special person, like you have a rank, a title, okay? And so the story tells about Alonso Quijano, who's an aging man, and he becomes captivated by tales of chivalry. So knights, right? And knights defending all the good things against the evil things, right? So he gets all up into this. And this is kind of, you guys hear me out. If you play a game, or if you like movies, right? Movies and stories are generally about good versus evil, right? Even the context of the games that you play, oftentimes your video games, aren't they generally about fighting off the bad guy or winning against the bad guy, or something like that, right? So this is a similar scenario. This man decides that he's gonna revive these ideas of being a knight, okay, and setting out to to protect good against evil. Now, in doing that, okay, when he decided to do this character in the story, there aren't any more knights. Okay, so he's trying to revive this. And so people are going to start looking at him kind of oddly. Okay, be like me and you all of a sudden deciding we want to be a knight. Okay, so, out of context, way late in the game, like, what are you talking about? People would think we were crazy, right? All right, so Don Quixote de la Mancha is the name that the character of the story adopts as his knight name, if you will. Okay. Now, the author of the story is, if you can see it down here at the bottom, his name is Miguel de Cervantes. And in Spain, anybody you will hear often in context of, like I was saying, in conversations, right? They talk about Cervantes. He's a very famous author. The first part of the story was actually written in 1605. Okay, you guys listen, in context, there was no United States. They weren't even sure there were Americas in 1605. You with me, you guys? And then the second version of the story was 1615. So if knights existed until like the early 1300s, this story was written like 300 years after you had knights and knighthood. Okay, so to put it in context, so this man in the story, Alonso Quijano, who's an old guy, and he's like reading stories about knights, from 300 years before, and he decides that he wants to do that. He wants to do good, and he renames himself Don Quixote de la Mancha. Now, in order to be a knight, you guys, you have to have a squire. You got to have somebody help you. And so he hires this Sancho Panza, is the little guy, okay, on the donkey. And what he ends up doing, he's a knight 300 years after there aren't any more knights. And so he sort of has these fantasy, again, this is like in your games, you guys, these sort of fantasy evil characters, okay, what he perceives as evil, right? As a knight, he's looking at this and he goes, oh, this is bad, I got to stop it, right? But they're not real, okay? And so he goes along and he's walking around on his horse with the squire, and things that he mistakes for sources of evil. So he does things like he attacks windmills, and he, in his imagination, makes them out to be these evil giants. Okay. And I'm sure in your stories, you have these evil things that are giant, and you, in your games, I mean, and somebody, you got to attack them, right? Think of Lord of the Rings or something. So he sees this windmill, and his imagination says, oh, this is a giant I got to get rid of. So he attacks this windmill, and people are seeing this and they're like, this guy's nuts. Okay, he's crazy. He mistakes ordinary people for like bad people or for nobles. Okay. And he tries to school ordinary people in like, oh, that's not how you're supposed to behave. This is how you're supposed to behave. Right. So he goes around Spain and he's doing all these crazy things, and his reputation spreads, and they start to mock him. Now listen carefully, because here we're coming to the moral of the story. Okay. So they start to mock him. They start to bully him, playing tricks on him, right? And then laughing at him. And he has this, worldview that like, you guys, we need to be nice to each other. We need to be kind to each other. We need to protect each other. We need to help each other. And other people are like bullying him because of his attitude. Okay. So, I mean, despite all of that, he continues to forge ahead. He's generous. He's courageous, right? And he has this sincere desire to do good in society and to help other people. And you guys, he's getting bullied. right? Don't we have that message today as well in some of our stuff? Yeah. Don't we see that? Don't we hear things about that? Right? Where people are trying to do good and people bully them, especially online. Okay. And so even back in the 1600s, we're saying, look, it takes courage. It takes courage to do the right thing. It takes courage to do the right thing. Okay. And so the moral of the story, okay, is that you might have the right intention of like doing good, but you don't want to go around attacking windmills and things like that, right? So you got to have some reality there. Okay. But it also shows that you guys, is like true to what he believes. He believes in helping people, and he's going to be courageous about it, even when other people don't understand what he's doing, or even though other people are going to bully him and make fun of him. Okay. So it's a story that, even though it was written in the 1600s, okay, do the math. Even though it was written in the 1600s, right, the idea is still valid today. And that's why a lot of, again, in Spain and other folks will refer to this story, because here we have a person, again, who's trying to do good, but who's being mocked or bullied, or people are playing tricks on him, right? But he's staying true to what he believes. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? So this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the story of Don Quixote de la Mancha, who was written by the Spanish author Miguel de Cervantes back in the 1600s. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And to kind of show you how important this story is in Spanish culture, okay? There are actually children's books and children's videos and all kinds of things, okay, geared for children, to learn about, I guess, essentially the moral of the story, okay? So first thing I want us to do is I want us to look at a little bit about the author, Miguel de Cervantes, okay? So please make sure that you can hear.
Hello, friends. I'm Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. I imagine you must know that I am one of the most famous writers in history. But let me tell you about my complicated life. I was born in the middle of the 16th century in Alcalá de Henares, a small village belonging to Madrid. My father was a humble surgeon, and I, from a young age, began to write poems. When I was still young, I injured a man with my sword, and I had to flee Spain to Italy to escape justice. I enlisted in the Spanish Armada and fought against the Turks in the Lepanto battle, where a bullet destroyed my left hand, rendering it useless. From then on, I was nicknamed the One-Handed Man from Lepanto. But my misfortunes didn't end there. When I was returning to Spain by boat, pirates attacked us, and I was captured as a prisoner. They then took me to an African city, Algiers, where I was imprisoned for 5 long years. Finally, I was freed in a rescue operation, and I eventually managed to get back to Spain. Later, I was married and began to write plays, but my cursed bad luck continued, and I was not able to make a living as a writer. I was imprisoned once again because of a money issue. And it was during these months in jail where I began to write the play which gave me eternal fame, The Ingenious Gentleman Don Quixote of La Mancha. In it, I narrated Don Quixote's adventures, accompanied by his loyal squire Sancho Panza. It did give me great glory and fame, but little else, as I lived the rest of my days immersed in poverty. Before saying farewell, I would like to give you a little advice. Even if you have constant bad luck, you should always fight for what you believe in, and never give up on your passions. Even though I generally had bad luck, I managed to do great things doing what I loved most: writing and creating. Goodbye, friends, and adios.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have any hobbies that you like? Do you guys write? Do you draw? Do you play music? What do you guys do? So this guy, I mean, what a life, right? That's true. That's a true story. That was the author, Miguel de Cervantes. That was his life. Okay. Do you guys, and he insisted, I'm going to keep writing poetry, this, that, and the other, despite all of these other things. Do you guys have something like that kind of grounds you? Arshad, Jamarian, I know you like your video games. Okay, very good, Brooklyn. Yeah, very good. Arshad, what about you? Are you a gamer, Arshad? Or are you more sports? Music. All right, I love that. So tell me, do you play an instrument? Do you play an instrument, Arshad? Or you just like listening to music? Do you sing? Do you rap? What do you do, Arshad? Help me out. Listening. Okay. All right. So we all have our thing, right? That we like to do. I made myself a goal, you guys. I had my birthday last week. I made myself a goal. So for my birthday, I got a ukulele. Y'all know what a ukulele is, right? And so my goal is to teach myself one song on the ukulele, just one. That's my goal. If I can do more than that, that's great, right? But my goal is one, okay? Because I'm trying to teach myself, okay? Okay, so let's, I have another one about the actual story that Cervantes, it's an important name to remember, that Cervantes wrote, okay? And so let's watch this little video.
Smile and learn.
In a village in La Mancha, the name of which I have no desire to recall, lived Alonso Quijano, most commonly known as Don Quixote. Don Quixote loved books so much, he would spend entire hours reading them. Without a doubt, his favorite stories were about the great knights in old Spain.
Okay, so just remember, you guys, this is the story, right, that Cervantes wrote. Okay, they're talking about Don Quixote here, the character, okay, just to clarify.
As Don Quixote read through these novels about great deeds of chivalry and accomplishments, he started confusing fantasy with reality. In like manner, he strived to imitate the heroes in the stories, becoming a knight errant. The world needs brave men like myself to fight for justice against evil. From now onwards, I'll go down in history as Don Quixote de la Mancha. Don Quixote made all the necessary arrangements to become a knight, like those in his books. He went up to the attic and found an armor. He laid his hands on an old spear and a dented shield which he had to fix. I almost forgot, I will also need a horse. He went down to the stables and there found Rosinante, a skinny old nag. Just then, his neighbor Sancho, a kind, chubby peasant, was passing by. Don Quixote remembered right away that he also needed a companion in his wanderings. Dear Sancho, every knight needs a faithful squire and adventurous companion. I can't promise you the world, but if we win fortune and glory, I'll grant you the privilege of becoming the governor of an isle. Sancho was slightly naive, so he believed him and accepted the proposal. And this was how such an atypical pair set off seeking adventures. Their neighbors couldn't believe their eyes. What were these lunatics up to? They laughed at them for hours, but couldn't stop them. Don Quixote, Sancho, and Rocinante were strolling along the plains of La Mancha when they saw some windmills at a distance. Sancho, my friend, do you see those enormous giants? I shall do battle with them unto the death to stop their evil deeds. Which giants, my lord? Those, over there, in the distance. There are at least 30 of them. Can't you see how huge their arms are? Those aren't giants, Don Quixote. They're windmills. And those that look like arms to you aren't arms. They are the blades that spin around with the wind. Sancho, fear doesn't let you see clearly. Step aside. I'll battle them. Don't run away, coward creatures! Sancho's warnings didn't do any good. The blades pushed Don Quixote off his horse. Both himself and Rocinante fell on the ground, badly injured. My lord, I told you they weren't giants. They were windmills. But you didn't listen. Hush, Sancho. It's magician Freston's fault, who changed the giants into windmills to deprive me of victory. But I won't give up. The power of my sword is greater than the magician's evil doing. Sancho Panza helped his lord up. He treated his wounds, and they both set off once again in search for more adventures. Sancho, my friend, every knight needs to have a fair lady to dream of and to honor with his heroic deeds. Because a knight without love is like a tree without leaves. Don Quixote had chosen Dulcinea del Toboso, a young peasant girl, whom he idealized and decided she'd become the lady of his dreams. Don Quixote decided to write a letter to his beloved. Sovereign and exalted lady, sweet is Dulcinea del Toboso. Your absence hurts dearly my heart, my fair beloved. I dream about the day we'll meet again and you'll heal my wounds. Forever yours, the Knight of the Sad Continents. Don Quixote set out on his new path together with Sancho. Suddenly, he saw a thick cloud of dust. A vast army was approaching with the capacity to defeat them. Sancho warned him of such insanity. There's no vast army of soldiers. It's just a large flock of sheep. Don Quixote didn't listen and pounced at the sheep. He hurt a lot of them with his spear and stepped on many others with his horse. Hey! The shepherds were furious, and they started throwing stones at him. So many that both Sancho and Don Quixote had to flee with great speed. Don Quixote felt exhausted. Nightlife wasn't the way he had imagined it to be. He had come across with nothing but mockery, attacks, and disappointments. And this was how Don Quixote commenced his journey back home, where other adventures were waiting for him. Those told in the books he loved reading so much. This story, written by the famous author Miguel de Cervantes, is great in length and filled with adventures like the ones we told you about. How would you like to read the whole novel?
All right, questions? That was a good little snippet of the story, absolutely. Okay. All right, one last thing about Don Quixote. Waiting on my computer. Let's catch up with me. Okay. All right. What I need is for you guys to meet me in Canvas, por favor. I need you to go to the bottom of Unit 5. Jo Marion, meet us there. Brooklyn, meet us there. You'll have some work time here in just a second. It's only 10 after, you guys. Sorry, I'm still waiting on my computer. Refresh your Canvas screen. You might need to refresh. Bottom of Unit 5. Okay. So you guys, this will be the very last thing that we do in Unit 5. Okay. So we have Don Quixote. And it's a simple couple of paragraphs, right? And many of the words are cognates. So what I thought we could do real quickly, but quickly means that you guys respond, okay? That we go through and figure out what each paragraph is saying, and then you guys can just answer the questions, okay? Y'all ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. If we can figure out what each paragraph is talking about together. Arshad, you ready, Brooklyn? Then it'll go faster for you. Okay. So we have Don Quixote de la Mancha, o simplemente El Quijote, es una famosa novela española del año 1605. El autor de El Quijote es Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. So what are they talking about in the first paragraph? You don't have to translate the whole thing. Just what do you think they're talking about? It says, El Quijote es una famosa novela española. What does that mean? Somebody pop it in the chat or unmute. Right here. Una famosa novela española. Yeah, so El Quijote is the name, right, of a famous Spanish novel from the year 1605, and the author was Miguel de Cervantes. Okay, everybody with me there? Yes or no? Sí o no? All right, let's do this next one. Es la historia de un famoso caballero andante. Caballero andante is a word for knight. So what is this? Es la historia de un famoso caballero andante. What does this mean? It's the story of what? Un famoso caballero andante is a knight. So what is this telling us? Come on, you guys. Story of a famous knight. Very good. Okay. And then it says La Mancha es una región en el centro de España. What does that mean? Arshad, can you help us? La Mancha es una región en el centro de España. What is that telling us? Good. So La Mancha is a region in the center of Spain, and we can see it in our picture here. Okay. All right. So now we get on about the characters. So Don Quixote es alto y delgado. What is alto? What is alto? Like, think about singing if you're an alto, right? Or altitude. What does alto mean? He is what? Tall. Delgado is skinny, right? Don Quixote es serio, honesto, y generoso. So what else is he? He's tall and skinny. But what about his character? He's honest. What is serio? What's it look like in English? He's honest and generous. What is serio? What's it look like in English? Serious. All right, muy bien. So Don Quixote is tall and skinny physically. In his character, he is serious, honest, and generous, pero está un poco loco. What is loco? What is loco, clase? Crazy. He's a little crazy. Okay, muy bien. Sancho Panza es su escudero. That's his squire, right? His assistant, if you will. Okay. Sancho es bajo y gordo. So what is bajo? What is bajo? Okay. Do you remember that from last year, Arshad or Jamarian? What is bajo? Bajo is short. Gordo, heavy, fat, right? So Quixote is tall and skinny, but Sancho is short and fat. Okay. Él es simpático. What is simpático? What is simpático? We had that word last year. What is simpático? Anybody remember? Simpático means nice, right? He's pleasant. He's a nice person. Pero un poco perezoso. Perezoso meaning lazy. So he's nice, but he's a little lazy, and he's not very what, you guys? He's not very inteligente, right? He's not very smart, right? And it says las aventuras de Don Quixote y Sancho Panza son muy cómicas. What does this mean? Las aventuras. What word is this in English? Aventuras, what's it look like? Adventures. Muy bien. So the adventures of Don Quixote y Sancho Panza son muy cómicas. What does that mean? Cómicas. What's it look like in English? Funny, right. Okay, so we have Don Quixote de la Mancha is a famous Spanish novel from 1605 written by Miguel de Cervantes. Story of a famous knight. La Mancha is a region in Spain. Don Quixote is tall and skinny, serious, honest, and generous, but a little crazy. Sancho Panza is his squire or his assistant. He is short and fat, nice, a little lazy, and not very intelligent. And the adventures of Don Quixote are very funny, okay, or amusing, I guess would be another word, okay? So you're just going to click here, answer those couple of questions, right? When you're done with that, make sure you submit it. And then I would like for you to look in Canvas at missing assignments. I did send an email through the Canvas inbox to some folks, so you might want to check your inbox. Also, there's several VHL things that are missing that we need to work on, okay? All right, any questions about what we're doing? So stay in Zoom, please. I'm here to help. If you have a question on any of these Don Quixote questions, let me know. It's probably easier if you're looking at how to get into VHL stuff. It's probably easier if you find the little brain emoji in Canvas, and it should take you straight to the actual assignment. That might be easier. Sometimes that's easier. Rashad, y'all caught up? I want us to go off to break, you guys, and not have anything hanging over our heads that need to be done, right? Arshad, can you check the chat? Jamarian, can you check the chat? The squire, like his assistant. So Arshad, don't submit that just yet. Did you submit? Can you scroll back up, Arshad? Yeah, go down to the fill in the blank part, please. Mm-hmm. Okay, keep scrolling. So, well, I thought it was going to show us how you filled it in. So remember that all of these are reflexive, right? At the end of the verb, you see the reflexive pronoun, but you have to change it to agree with the yo or the nosotros or the whatever, right? So you have to include like yo me, tú te, él se, nosotros nos, ellos se, right? Are you with me on that? And I didn't see that when you did it the first time. Right? So you can just scroll up and down if you need in the example that's there. Okay, you doing all right, Jojo? Okay. Okay, you guys, we have about a minute left. We didn't get to our Thanksgiving video. That's okay. Listen carefully. So later this afternoon, y'all, I'm having surgery, which means I'm not going to be available until tomorrow. So if you have a question or something, go ahead and inbox me through Canvas. Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer you until tomorrow. Okay. But I would like for you to try to get as much of your work done, if not all of your work done, before you guys head out to your break. Okay. So you can be free. Freedom, right? Okay. Any questions about what I just said? I'm not going to be available today at all. But go ahead and inbox me if you have a question, and I will try to reach out tomorrow. Okay. Once all my loopiness wears off, you know what I mean? How they drug you up before surgery. Yeah. Okay, you guys, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Feliz Dia de Acción de Gracias. Enjoy your Thanksgiving break.